Need a diversion, take a drone excursion. Hey guys, it's Drone Excursion with another diversion. I've got a different kind of video for you here today. I thought it would be fun to watch one of my own flight videos and explain to you what's going on in my mind, before the flight, the things I have to think about and consider during the flight, and after the flight, how I felt. And in this flight, I'm actually on the big island of Hawaii, over on the North Shore, and there's this area called Waipio Valley, and I, with my family, drove to a lookout point. It's called the Waipio Lookout, and you can get to the spot, but then if you wanted to go further, you're gonna have to hike down a cliff and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, on the other side of this valley, I knew there was a waterfall. I wasn't sure if it was flowing. I didn't know much about, the weather conditions when we got there. But I knew that I had my drone with me and I was up for an adventure. And I wanted to take this flight if I could and, see if I can find the waterfall. So, yeah, sure enough, we get there and there's a few people around, as you'll see. But it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't super crowded. I had a good spot I could take off from, and I didn't think anybody would be bummed out. Because in general, you don't want to fly over people because people are just silly about that kind of thing. They think you're trying to film them for some reason, and afraid they're going to get hurt or whatever it is. But so I was flying a drone that I had built basically just before the trip, and it actually wasn't flying well at all. I wasn't sure how far I could fly it. I wasn't sure if the footage was going to turn out well. There was a lot of factors that made it to where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But I'm down for a challenge. I'm okay with taking some risk if the reward is going to be diving down a pretty waterfall. I'm in. So so let's go ahead and start watching this footage. And I'll pause it as we go along and explain to you what's going on in my head here. Oh, but let me first show you. So here's a map of Hawaii. Here's the big island down on the bottom. And so it's over here on the North Shore. It's very mountainous and there's a lot of cliffs and things. So let me zoom in and you'll see where I am. Here we go. Waipio Valley, okay? So there's this really pretty black sand beach that goes all through here. It's about a mile long. Big river that goes through. It's super, super pretty through here. And here is where I was at. You can drive to this lookout point here. And we were there. And there's a big, big cliffside here. The elevation here where we were at was probably, I want to say, maybe about almost 1,000 feet high. Maybe 800 feet high above sea level. And so my goal was to fly from here across the beach, and then over here is where you've got another really big cliff side, all through here. And I wasn't even sure, I just was looking on a map and I saw that there was potentially waterfalls over in this area, and you couldn't see them from where I was. But I was like, okay, well, I'll see what I can see. I'll fly out there and give it a try. It looks like sometimes there's a waterfall here. There's a creek that runs down and it spills down into the ocean here. Also here potentially. But the one that I actually saw from my drone and had some water flowing down was here. And I guess this one's called Naluea Stream. Or was it this one? To be honest, I'm not even sure which one it was. But I think I got this one. But it very well may have been this one. And if it's this one, then I got the Kahupu'u stream. Yeah, Kahupu'u stream. So that comes down through here. And again, these are big cliffs, probably maybe 1,000 or 2,000 feet high up in this area. And then the water comes all the way down to here. So yeah, this was a long flight. This was a risky flight for me to fly all the way from over here to over here. And I was pretty confident I could do it. I was pretty sure I could reach it. Wasn't sure what I was going to see, but I wasn't sure of the weather conditions before I got there. You know, I really wasn't sure what my quadcopter, you know, or drone, as most people call it, was capable of, the range that I could get. If need be, you know, I could turn around before I got to where I was trying to go, but it all worked out in terms of getting there, and you'll see the video. But man, it was windy as heck. So let me just go ahead and show you. Let's go ahead and watch the video and kind of walk through what I was thinking during this flight. All right, so here I am. Let's go ahead and watch it now. I set up the drone here on this grassy area. I was ready to go, and
Alright guys, here we go. We're gonna dive this waterfall.
yeah, I gave a little announcement here. Let's go ahead and dive this waterfall. You know, so there's kids around. They're playing, they're doing their thing, and you can't see it yet, but I'm on top of this cliffside, and it's a really pretty spot. Like if you ever go to Hawaii on the Big Island, definitely worth a drive. There's some really nice scenery along the way and all that. But as you can see, look at those trees. It is quite windy where we are right there, and even more windy once I get over the valley with my drone. So it was definitely a factor in this flight. I actually had a tailwind the whole way, which made it easy to get there. But man, when I turned around to come back, you will see I was not sure I was gonna make it back. Okay, so look how pretty this is. Just this beautiful valley. Straight down below is this black sand beach. There was a few people down there, not many, but you could hike down to it from where we were parked if you wanted to. We chose not to. I've got the wife and kids and everybody with us, so we couldn't do that. But super pretty, and obviously, if you can fly a drone, you can get some nice footage of the area without having to hike to it, which is one of the nice benefits, right? So yeah, so this big valley, I guess I'm probably about, I'm guessing maybe 800 to 1,000 feet high at this point, cruising along. You know, when you're flying like this, you have to really be careful of, you know, helicopters, especially in Hawaii. Let me go ahead and pause the video here. Especially on the island of Hawaii, all the different islands of Hawaii, there's a lot of helicopter tours. So you'll get like random helicopters flying in and trying to, you know, they're trying to give people a view of the waterfalls or the different areas that people want to see. And these helicopter pilots aren't necessarily following the rules. You know, they're supposed to follow the rules just like drone pilots are supposed to follow the rules, just like hobbyists are supposed to follow the rules. But half the time, these guys are coming down lower than they're supposed to just to give these people a nice view. And man, it's risky. It's risky. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about it, but there have been many, many helicopter crashes where everybody dies. In fact, I think it was probably only a few months before we were here on Hawaii that we heard about a helicopter crash in Hawaii where everybody died. And I've heard about them. I remember we were in the Grand Canyon area a few years ago, and it was like a week after we considered taking a helicopter flight, and we didn't, that somebody crashed and died. So I guess my point is, you know, these helicopter rides are pretty and all, but they're very risky. These helicopters are not as safe, I guess you would say, as a plane ride, or obviously a radio controlled drone. So one of the big factors for me in flying drones, I mean, it's fun. It's very fun for me. But it's just a great way to be able to see stuff like this without putting my life in danger. So it's fantastic. But yes, as you're flying, you need to watch out. You know, if somehow I saw a helicopter, of course I would give it the right of way, because there would be no way he would see me. My drone is only about, I don't know, not even 1 foot wide. And so, yeah, so I'm watching out. I'm constantly looking out for other aircraft and trying to just, you know, be safe about everything. So here we go. So let's just get back to the video. As you can see, it looks like my drone is crooked. The camera's crooked, and that's because of the wind. It was very, very windy. I had a bunch of wind coming from my back right, and I'm trying to fly straight to this cliffside, and I'm probably going about I want to say 60 or 70 miles an hour here, because of the wind. But let me pause it again. Yeah, so the wind is so strong that the only way I can even fly straight is to have the quadcopter pitched to the right just to counteract the wind. And so my footage is of course all crooked, but whatever, it's all good. I don't have a gimbal on my drone. This is just a GoPro Hero 7 Black mounted to my drone, and so there's no way for it to auto level the footage as I'm flying. But it's no big deal. It's all good because the way I fly, I generally am not trying to get super level kind of footage. I'm trying to do like mountain dives or waterfall dives and doing different tricks and stuff. I've got a Mavic, which is like a cinematic drone. I fly that if I want to get the real smooth, like horizontal, flat footage. But this is not my goal on this flight. So yeah, so let's keep going here. So I'm guessing I'm almost a mile out at this point, and it's windy as heck. Let's go ahead and play the video. But it's just so pretty. Obviously, it's a risky flight just because of the wind, because of the water down below. If I crash, there's no way I'm getting this thing back. I could easily lose video and just get lost. And I do have a return to home option on this drone. I'll pause it again. I do have a return to home option. I can hit the button and hopefully it would come back, or at least come back far enough to where I can regain video and see where I'm going and then navigate back. But you never want to have to use that or rely on that. So yeah, so here I am. I'm probably about 1,000 feet high, maybe 1,500 feet high, cruising, and I'm looking for a waterfall. I don't even know if for sure I'm going to see one. And finally, down below, you can see there is a waterfall flowing over the cliffside there, and I'm like, oh yes. So I luckily didn't have to go any further, and I'm going to go ahead and dive this waterfall. Let me go ahead and pause it here. So I'm right in front of the waterfall, and again, I've got a bunch of wind, and so I want to dive down the face of the waterfall. And so you just have to keep in mind, the weather conditions. The last thing you want to do is get pushed right into the cliffside or pushed too close to the waterfall, because obviously water and electronics do not go so well together. So yeah, you don't want to be sprayed with a bunch of water and then lose control and crash down at the bottom of a waterfall. And even if you don't lose control, there's a potential for water droplets to spray up onto your camera. The view that I have in my goggles as I'm flying, if that view gets obstructed with water on the lens of the camera and I can't see where I'm going, I'm screwed. So yeah, so I didn't get too close, but I wanted to make sure that the wind didn't push me too close either. But here we go. So let's go ahead and dive this waterfall. I'm lining up here, and I'm going to make the turn and come straight down this waterfall. Here we go. Woohoo! This is a blast, man. Yeah. So I saw the mist and everything. I was like, okay, I'm clear. All right, let me just go ahead and pause it again here. So now I'm at the bottom of this cliff, and as you can see, where I launched from, where I took off from, is way straight ahead, way on the other side. It almost looks like a big tree or something up there at the top of that road. But that's a good, I'm guessing, 2 miles away. So yeah, there's a long ways to go to get back. And as I'm making this journey back, I'm just starting to fly back, and I can immediately feel a ton of wind right at the face of this drone. And like I said, I was probably flying maybe 60, 70 miles an hour out, which means that my drone was probably flying more like 30 or 40 miles an hour. And then I had a tailwind that was pushing me another, maybe 35 miles an hour. So that made me going, pretty quick out. But now I'm heading back. And this is a whole different story. Now my drone is trying to fly. In terms of the power, it's going through. It's flying as if it's flying maybe 60 miles an hour to get back, but really I'm probably only going about maybe 30 miles an hour in terms of land speed. So it's let me go ahead and play the video again. It's a realization that I'm like, oh no, this is quite windy, and I'm really not sure if I'm going to make it back to where I took off from. So immediately I'm trying to just stay low at this point. I don't want to consume too much energy, too much battery power to get back up to the elevation I was at when I came out, because I just figured that would ruin it. I wouldn't be able to make it back. So I'm already thinking, where can I ditch this drone and hike down to retrieve it? I really didn't think I was going to make it back, but I was hoping. My voltage was pretty low. I mean, I knew I had a chance, but I'm looking ahead. I'm like, okay, I know there's this black sand beach down here. I know I can walk down to it, and hopefully I can land this drone without anybody at the beach noticing. Land it in a spot where I can remember and kind of visualize where it is, and then go ahead and hike down to it, and probably a half an hour later or whatever, find it. So that was my goal at this point. I'm just hovering over this beach, trying to enjoy the view. But as you can see, there's some people down there, and obviously I'm still over water. I don't want to crash over the water. I don't want to hit any of these trees, but I need to find a safe spot to land this drone if need be. So I'm just keeping it low. I'm like, okay, well, I'll get some footage of these waves, but don't get too low here. And sure enough, it looks like a little bit of mist from the waves got up on the lens for a second there. It probably dried off, but I don't know if you caught that. So right in here, I'm like, okay, well, there's the cliffside. I'm coming up on where I was. Up that cliff is where I took off. And I'm starting to think I can make it. So here's that river that I went over initially. There's some more people down there. I don't know if they noticed me or not, but hopefully they did, because that would make for a story. And I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and let's increase our elevation. Let's go ahead and head up and see if we can make it back to where I was. So now I'm climbing, and I'm really burning through the power now. I've got a headwind, and I'm gaining altitude. And this drone is like already telling me, man, land now, land now. Like my voltage is really low, and I'm like, oh shoot, it's now or never. I have to make it up this cliffside back to where I was, or I'm really screwed. But yeah, I am up here, and I'm starting to see where I took off from, and I'm realizing I can make it. At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I see where I took off from, and I've got just enough voltage to make it. If my battery, is a goner after this, oh well, I'm gonna give it everything it's got to go ahead and land. And look at this. Look at how windy it is around here. I don't know if you saw some of those trees on the way back, but just look at this. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I made it. I don't need to freak out too much now. I'm going to go ahead and just cruise around just a couple, get a couple more shots real quick here. Show off a little bit there in front of the people. They were probably like, what the heck is this drone doing? And just like freaked out. But no, I just did a quick little trick. And look at that wind. You see the trees blowing? Yeah, man, it's super windy. And believe me, I was feeling it as I was flying. But yeah, so there's some people there. Give them a little show. And then let me go ahead and just land. And then I see my daughter Charlotte is right here. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll do a quick little orbit around her and get some footage of her playing. And she gets a little close, or I get a little close to her. And then I'm like, okay, I'll keep my distance. Let's just go ahead and land it and consider this a win for the record books. And yeah, man, I made it. I'm back, and I'm happy, and I'm just stoked to get it back, and excited to look at the footage. And man, even look at that grass just blowing around. Wow. So yeah, look at me. Yeah, wow. So yeah, man. So that flight is fun. Doing those types of flights is nerve-wracking. It's like so stressful. But it's just so cool that you can do this at all. But then knowing that you have some really nice HD footage from your camera that you get to go back and look at, that's what makes it really worth it. You know, it's really neat to get that footage and then go ahead and share it with people, put it on YouTube or whatever you want to do. So that's what I like to do. That's what I'm all about, man. This hobby is fun for so many reasons. It's really a way for me to express myself, to show what I can do in terms of my skills, you know, to prove to myself that I'm a good pilot, to go ahead and then, you know, be creative when I edit the footage, to go ahead and then, be selective about what songs, what music I get to put with it, and just, you know, produce a video that I think is fun to watch and that people will enjoy. So, yeah, it's just, I enjoy every aspect of flying drones, from building them all the way to editing and producing the footage that I get from them. And yeah, guys, that's about it. I just wanted to show you some of the stuff that I do and explain to you what goes on in my head as I'm flying these drones in these situations. I felt I was definitely being safe in terms of, you know, the general public, but I was definitely being risky in terms of, you know, getting my drone back. But that's okay. You know, these things can get a little expensive, but the one I was flying, it wasn't all that expensive. It would have definitely sucked to ditch it in the water, you know, because it's not just the drone, it's your GoPro that you'll be losing forever. But yeah, man, it all worked out this time. There was actually another flight that I made in Hawaii, and I'll go ahead and link to that video. A year or two before this, I was still fairly new at what I was doing, and I was flying a drone that, well, once again, wasn't set up quite right. And I was on the island of Kauai, if I remember right. And I was on another cliffside, and I went to do a trick over the cliffside, and the drone malfunctioned. It wasn't even a fault of mine, but the drone desynced. The motors desynced, and the drone fell down the cliffside. And anyway, if you want to see that video, somehow or another, I did recover it the next day. I was able to find it in the ocean, believe it or not. And I used another drone as a reconnaissance kind of a mission to scour the water to find my crashed drone, and it worked. So if you're interested in that video, I'll go ahead and link to it right now. And yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, do I have yet to lose a drone in water? I think I do. I've crashed another drone in a lake. I crashed in a lake. Again, it was a technical malfunction. It wasn't a piloting error, but I crashed in a lake. And I am friends with a guy that lives on the lake, and he had a brilliant idea to use. He just happened to have like a super high powered magnet, like a real big heavy magnet that he went ahead and just drug on a rope from his boat. So he went ahead and drove his boat around just for like 2 minutes around the spot where I crashed, dangling this magnet down on the bottom of the lake. We couldn't see where the drone was because the lake is probably a good, like, I don't know, 40 feet deep. But sure enough, he just after like 2 minutes, he pulled up the magnet and there was my drone stuck to it. So yeah, so I guess long story short, I've been really lucky. I've had some bad crashes, and I've always gotten it back. So it's always fun to get the footage back from the drone after a crash, because the GoPro that you happen to have on it is waterproof. So if you can get the drone back, even if the drone's a goner, the actual footage on the GoPro should still be good to go. And that's sometimes more fun to watch the footage from a GoPro on a crash than just flying around like normal. All right, guys, why don't we wrap this up? I thought this was a fun way to explain what was going on. And actually, I got one of my daughters screaming downstairs anyhow, so good timing. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me know what you thought of this video. I'm happy to do more videos like this where I just kind of explain what's going on. And that's it, guys. If you need a diversion, take a drone excursion. All right, see you on the next one. Bye.